The world remembers the punches he threw. Nobody remembers the one he didn't. They built his legend on violence, on the men he dropped. Liston frozen on the canvas, Foreman folding in the African heat. 61 fights carved into history like scripture. But there was one night. No cameras, no crowd, no bell that mattered, when Muhammad Ali had a man dead to rights. A man he could have finished. A man the whole gym wanted him to finish. And he stopped. He lowered his hands. And what he said next had nothing to do with boxing at all. This is the story of the round he threw away, and why it may have been the bravest thing he ever did. Deer Lake, Pennsylvania. The early 1970s. Picture a mountain camp. Log cabins Ali built himself, each one painted with the name of a fighter who came before him. Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson. Boulders hauled up the hillside, each stone lettered with the name of a man he'd have to beat. He called it his Church of Pain, a place a fighter goes to be broken down and built back up. This was after the fall, because by now Ali was not the untouchable boy from Louisville anymore. The government had taken 3.5 years of his prime, stripped his title, seized his license, tried to send him to a war he refused to fight. He came back slower, heavier in the legs. He had already tasted the canvas against Joe Frazier, the first loss of his life, the night they said the myth finally cracked. He was rebuilding, round by round, body by body, and to rebuild, a fighter needs bodies to work with. Young men, hungry men, men who fly into camp to be hit and to hit back, so the champion can remember who he is. One of them was a kid we'll call Leon Baxter. Leon was 20 years old, from the wrong side of a city that had already decided what he'd become. He'd had maybe a dozen amateur fights, fast hands, a chip on his shoulder the size of the mountain itself, and he had been invited to Deer Lake for one reason, to give the champ some rounds. But in Leon's head, this was not a job. This was his shot, because here is the thing about a young fighter with nothing. He doesn't see a training session, he sees a doorway. One good showing. One moment where the great Muhammad Ali stumbles in front of the reporters, and suddenly Leon Baxter is not nobody anymore. Suddenly he's the kid who touched God. His father was gone. His name meant nothing. And every day of his life had told him the same cold sentence: you don't matter. So he came up that mountain to prove it wrong. With his fists, he came to hurt the champion. The first days, Ali played with him. That was Ali's way in the gym. He'd lean on the ropes, drop his hands, let the younger man work the body, ride the clock, take shots he had no business taking. Those who trained with him would say it for the rest of their lives. He was not a cruel man in sparring. He wasn't the kind who fed on the men across from him. He absorbed, he allowed, he carried them, and Leon mistook that mercy for weakness. Every round Ali gave him, Leon took as proof. He's slowing down. He's scared. He's old. The kid grew louder, cockier, started talking in the ring, started aiming for the head with everything he had. The camp noticed. The sparring partners exchanged looks. Dundee, the trainer who'd been in his corner since the beginning, the man who'd tape his hands and read his silences, Dundee narrowed his eyes. Something was building, and Ali, who read men the way other men read newspapers, felt it too. It happened on a gray afternoon. Leon came out for the round with something ugly in his eyes, and he did the thing you do not do. Between the bells, with the champ's guard relaxed, he loaded up and threw a punch meant to end something, not to spar, to wound. It caught Ali clean. The gym went silent, and for one flickering second, everyone in that mountain camp saw the other Muhammad Ali's surface. The one underneath the poetry, the predator, the man who had dismantled the most dangerous heavyweights alive. His eyes changed. His feet found their old rhythm. The hands came up. Not loose now, not playful, coiled. Leon had woken the thing he came to fight, and in that instant, the whole room understood a simple truth. The kid had made a terrible mistake, because Muhammad Ali, even diminished, even slowed, could take Leon Baxter apart piece by piece, could break his jaw, could end more than a sparring session, could end a career, a face, a future, with the crowd nodding along, because the kid had it coming. Everyone wanted it. Teach him. The room breathed. Teach him what he touched. Ali stepped in, and then he stopped. The hands dropped. The fire in the eyes banked, cooled, went out. He stood in front of the boy who'd just tried to hurt him. A boy breathing hard, fist still up, waiting for the punishment he'd earned. And Muhammad Ali did nothing. No, that's not right. He did something far harder than nothing. He looked at Leon, really looked, past the snarl, past the guard, past the 20-year-old rage. And he saw it, the thing he'd seen in 100 gyms and 1,000 faces, and once, a lifetime ago, in his own mirror. He didn't see an opponent. He saw a hungry kid who'd been told his whole life he was nothing, throwing punches at a ghost, and Ali lowered the fist that could have proven the kid right. What happened next? The sparring partners would repeat for years, though it never made a single newspaper. Ali leaned in, close, and under the noise of the gym, so only the boy could hear, he spoke in that soft voice that surprised everyone who ever heard it up close. He asked the kid a question. Who left you? That was all. Not who taught you to fight, not who made you this angry, just who left you. And Leon Baxter, 20 years old, undefeated in his own mind, the toughest thing walking up that mountain. Leon froze, because no one had ever looked at the anger and seen the wound underneath it. No one had ever understood that the rage was just grief wearing gloves. The fists came down, the eyes filled, and in the middle of a boxing ring, in front of the hardest men in the sport, something that had been clenched shut for 20 years finally, quietly, came open. Here is what Ali understood that the rest of the room did not. Beating Leon would have been easy, the easiest thing in the world. His whole life had trained him for exactly that, to find the man across from him and take him apart. The punch was right there, the permission was right there, the crowd was right there. But Ali had already learned the deepest secret of his sport, the one that took him a career to earn. The hardest opponent a man will ever face is not the one in front of him. It's the one inside him, the voice that says, hit back, prove it, make him pay, show them all what you are. Ali had spent his life learning to master that voice, in the ring and out of it. It was the same discipline that let him refuse a war when refusing cost him everything. The same stillness that would one day let him stand in front of a trembling future he couldn't fight and not run. Anyone can throw the punch. It takes the greatest of all time to lower it. They finished the round. Slow, gentle, two men moving through it like water now. Ali put an arm around the kid at the bell, said something that made Leon laugh through wet eyes, and then the champ went back to work, back to the boulders with the names on them, back to the long climb toward the belt he would win again against all of it. Leon Baxter never became a champion. He never got the headline, never got the moment in front of the reporters he'd climbed that mountain to steal. But he got something else. He got the memory of the day the greatest fighter alive held a man's whole future in his fist and chose to set it down. Years later, the story goes, when Leon had hung up the gloves, when he was coaching kids in a gym in a forgotten part of a forgotten city, a boy would come in angry, fists up, chip on his shoulder the size of a mountain, and Leon would sit that boy down. And before he taught him a single thing about throwing a punch, he'd teach him the other thing, the harder thing, when to lower it. He'd tell them about the day he went up a mountain to hurt a legend, and the legend refused to hurt him back. He'd tell them about a question asked in a whisper. He'd tell them that the bravest thing he ever saw a man do was not throw a punch he'd already earned. Because that is the secret the world never understood about Muhammad Ali. We remember the speed, the gold, the roar in Zaire, and the poetry at the press tables. We remember the man who could not be beaten. But his greatest victories were never the men he knocked down. They were the men he refused to. The soldier he never had to face, the war he would not join. The kid on the mountain who came to break him and walked back down carrying a father's absence a little lighter than he'd carried it up. The punches made him famous. The one he threw away made him great. Anyone can learn to fight. It takes a lifetime to learn when to stop. Ali knew that. Leon learned it. And somewhere, in a gym nobody's ever heard of, a kid with fists up and a hole in his chest is learning it right now. Because one afternoon on a mountain, the greatest of all time lowered his hands and let a nobody become somebody instead.